Hey you're watching a clip from the DynamiteGizmo podcast. This is not the full episode, but if you want to see the full episode, make sure to click the link in the description. And remember, like, comment, subscribe. Do it now. Here's the clip. Bellator champs. Huh? We've seen a lot of them come in lately, but it doesn't mean anything. Being a Bellator champ doesn't mean anything when you come into the UFC. It makes sense why you'd all get excited about Patchy Mix coming into the UFC, and I was one of the people who was excited to see Patchy Mix come into the UFC. Of course, look at what he's done. Coming off an 8-fight win streak, and his last 3 fights in Bellator were all title matches, and they were all wins. Okay? It's Patchy fucking Mix. Patrick Mix-a-lot. Patricio Pitbull, Patrick Mix. What's with the Patchies? The Apache tribe is coming into the UFC to try to stop everyone, but they're failing immediately. They're not even getting close to winning. We keep seeing the same thing over and over again. A dominant fighter from another organization makes their way into the UFC, and we expect nothing less than absolute fucking domination. We hype them up, thinking they're going to come in and take over every single time. And what ends up happening? Another debut loss. Another one. And not just a close decision loss. No. It's a straight up, clear cut, nobody's business, how you doing, how's your mother, loss. Now, Brendan Schaub tweeted something on the night of UFC 316 that perfectly captures this cycle. Let's take a look at his tweet, shall we? He said, "I don't know who needs to hear this, but having success in other fighting organizations doesn't mean shit unless it's in the UFC. Example, the MVP of the CFL doesn't think he's going to dominate in the NFL. And now I couldn't agree more with what the Schaubinator has to say here. Now I know what you're thinking as well. Brendan Schaub isn't an authority on the UFC. He's just a washed-up comedian who thinks he knows it all. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, blah, blah. I know, dude. I know. I get it, all right? I get it. I'm not usually the first to take notes from Brendan Schaub, but I'll admit, sometimes he does hit the nail on the head. Now, I'm not one of those guys who's completely dismissive towards Brendan Schaub. I actually kind of like the guy. Okay? Most people hate him, and I understand why. But I also don't understand why. Give him a chance, dude. All right? Hear him out. But when it comes to this point, he's actually right. He's actually right. And you know what? He is, whatever. There's this common misconception in MMA that just because someone is a legend in another promotion, that they're automatically going to shine in the UFC. And again, I was one of the ones who felt this way. But we've seen time and time again that this just isn't the case. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some exceptions, okay? You've got MVP, Michael Venom Page, for example, okay? He came in, he won his debut fight against Kevin Holland, which is a solid debut, but for the most part, we see the same pattern. Pitbull got Yair, Patchy got Batista, okay? And even though MVP did shine in his debut, his next fight was a loss. These guys are treated like veterans, okay? They get ranked opponents immediately, right off the bat, coming out of Bellator. But the truth is, having multiple title defenses in other promotions doesn't mean a thing when you step into the UFC. It really doesn't. And you wouldn't think that unless you actually witnessed it, which is what we have done this year, twice. But here's what is good about this. It proves that the UFC truly is the best in the world. Okay? We have these moments. We say, hey, look, he's good in PFL. He's good in Bellator. Let's just immediately put him with this fucking killer. See what happens. You can't just show up and expect to fit in with the big dogs right away. A few guys might make it, but the majority of them get humbled hard. All right? Now, we've even got Aaron Pico coming over from Bellator. He's the next in line. All right? And he's making his debut on July 26th against, guess who? Movsar Evelev. Huh? Who's ranked number 4 in the featherweight division and seen by most as the next in line for the title. But we know that's probably not going to happen. We know that Yair's getting special treatment. But if it wasn't for Yair and UFC Noche, everyone can solidly agree that Movsar is the one who should get that shot at the title. But no, he's getting Aaron Pico. Okay? Now, if we look at Pico, he has only lost 4 of his 16 fights in Bellator and won his last 2 in the PFL before leaving. Now, normally, this would seem like a no-brainer, right? But it's not that simple, especially when you're up against someone like Movsar. It's the same thing we dealt with Patchy Mix, okay? Evelev is 19-0 with 9 wins in the UFC, including victories over guys like Aljamain Sterling, Arnold Allen, Diego Lopez, and Dan Ige. Okay? This is a tougher debut than what Pitbull and Patchy had to face. Okay? Patchy and Pitbull didn't have near to the extent of the level of degree that Aaron Pico has coming into this. They had it easy compared to Pico. So imagine what Pico is going to do. Imagine how Pico is going to debut in the UFC. What's going to happen to him? Is he going to get absolutely destroyed? But it's not just about the level of competition, okay? It's the UFC itself, okay? It's just the fact that it's the UFC itself that creates a different kind of challenge. Okay, aside from just the absolute killers, the absolute dominance, the pure fucking athletic fucking skill, aside from all that, the best in the world we know is in the UFC. It's the UFC itself that also makes a difference on these Bellator guys that come in. Okay? It's what they call the UFC jitters, and I'm sure you've heard this term before. People have talked about it, or maybe you haven't heard about it. But let's talk about it right now. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or what you've accomplished. Your first time stepping into the UFC, specifically the UFC Octagon, on a sold-out main event in a huge fucking stadium, is unlike anything you've experienced in any other promotion. Nobody has that large of an audience, that much pressure as the UFC. It's real. The pressure is real. It's nerve-wracking. It's a completely different level than anything Bellator or PFL or any other organization can offer. And don't just take my word for it, because obviously I haven't actually experienced this. I'm talking from what other people have said who have experienced this. And more specifically, Patchy Mix himself confirmed this, according to Ariel Helwani. And if we take a look at the screen now, it says, Patchy Mix says that fighting in front of a few thousand more fans than he was used to affected his performance and contributed to his loss. All right? That's it. There it is. The UFC jitters. Okay? It's a real thing. They all talk about it. And the good thing is when you come up into the UFC, not having been dominant in another promotion, you get to slowly dip your feet into the water and creep your way up into the point where you can become used to the UFC and the environment in which it surrounds you in. But Patchy Mix, main card on a main pay-per-view, big time, right away, soppity boopy. Okay? It's real. And it probably won't be the last time we see it happen. Unless the UFC decides to stop giving killers to the newcomers right out of the gate. Now, the thing is, if Aaron Pico comes in and changes everything, if he comes in and has a win, but it can't just be a win, it has to be a dominant win. It can't be one of those wins where these guys go to decision and it was a super close matchup. In order for this curse to break, Aaron Pico has to absolutely fucking annihilate. So we'll see if that happens. Get your graham crackers, get your marshmallows, get your chocolate, and go to a campfire.
Tap here to watch the full episode of the Dynamite Gizmo podcast.